With the original Delci released almost 6 months ago now and reviewed on this channel at that time, Kefine made a real statement of intent to the IEM market. Despite it being just their second release, the tuning showed a maturity beyond their years, and it was a serious contender for the best IEM under $100, only really falling short in one area: versatility. Its lush, warm and smooth sound and its natural tonality, whilst definitely hit the spot with me, isn't always going to be for everyone. And with Kefine finding the competition tough with the likes of the SIMGOT EA500LM offering multiple tuning nozzles to switch up that sound, they've collaborated with Angel Ears to bring us the Delci AE, a release that builds on the success of the original but gives you that second removable tuning filter to get Kefine well and truly back in the game. It's just been released and it's retailing with an MSRP of around $89. In terms of the specifications, it's evolution rather than revolution. Again, we've got a 10mm DLC and PU composite diaphragm dynamic driver with an impedance of 28 ohms and a sensitivity of 108 dB. As with the original Delci, this makes them quite easy to drive, although they will scale well with amplification. They haven't changed up the accessories too much, and again you're getting a Kefine branded faux leather look zipper carry case with plenty of room for the IEM, tips, cable and spare nozzles. You're getting two different types of ear tip, with the KB Ear 08 lookalike meshing best with the silver nozzle and the dark grey giving the bass a gentle boost and therefore working better with the gold. As with the original, my preference though is to use the DUNU vocal tips. They're a little bit shallower than the stock tips, and this is meant to be a shallower fitting IEM, so I found that I got better comfort, stability and isolation with these tips. The cable is a 2-pin 0.78mm silver plated OFC of 1.2 meters long. It comes in either 3.5mm or 4.4mm termination, but you have to specify that at the time of order. The connection with the IEM itself is extremely tight, so when you're removing it and reinserting it, do be careful not to bend the pins. The ear hooks are a bit softer and an improvement over the original, and overall it's a pretty good quality cable that wears well with glasses. When it comes to the design, build and look, there aren't too many differences in the aesthetics between the original and the AE, and that definitely isn't a bad thing. Kefine have used CNC machined aviation grade aluminium alloy in its construction, and it's both lightweight at 5.3 grams and durable, feeling very impressive to the touch. There are holes on the inside for venting and tuning, and it helps the IEM not feel too stuffy. At the same time, with this being a vented design and shallow insertion, you're only getting just about average isolation. They're very lightweight at just above 5 grams, so they wear really light in your ears and are super comfortable. As alluded to in the intro, this comes with two interchangeable tuning nozzles, the default factory fitted being the silver and the alternative is in gold. Unlike SIMGOT, there's no bits of foam stuck to the bottom, and the nozzles themselves are tiny, much smaller than the other detachable nozzles that I've experienced with other IEMs. Switching them out and swapping them over is very straightforward, but because they're a little bit smaller they don't screw quite as tight, so when you're removing your ear tips, just be a little bit careful that you don't loosen it. Moving on to the sound, let's take a look at the frequency response measurements for each of the individual nozzles and then see how it compares to some of their competitors like the SIMGOT EA500LM. The silver nozzle, as we said, is a default, and unsurprisingly the tuning hasn't changed too much from the original. The Delci was characterised by a warm, smooth sound and with a physical and abrasive bass and focus on the sub bass. It had a transparent mid-range with a thicker note weight and slightly set back female vocals, and well balanced treble that rolls off in time to avoid fatigue but just about trades enough detail to sound interesting. Now, I don't know whether Kefine has made any incremental changes to the iteration of the driver or anything like that, but it actually sounds even more interesting. The trebles have a little bit more definition to them, and imaging is definitely perceptibly more precise. The transients are a little bit better too. These are quite small changes but definitely noticeable, definitely an improvement over the original. With the gold nozzle, you've got a more analytical and slightly less musical sounding, more reference grade version that lightens the note weight, opens the staging, and it brings female vocals closer to the front. This subtle difference allows the AE a new complexion with a more resolving appearance, accentuating micro details and perceptibly improving imaging. I wouldn't say that the gold nozzle is sibilant, but if you're particularly treble sensitive, this might push you towards preferring the silver nozzle. But by the same token, if you found the original Delci's tuning to be a bit safe and a bit boring, well, that's no longer a problem due to the added energy that you're getting with the gold nozzle. The whole point of a second tuning nozzle, as we talked about in the beginning, is to give some added versatility. You want something that is tangibly different, that gives, as I said, the IEM a different complexion, but doesn't lose its character altogether. And that really sets it apart from the SIMGOT EA500LM, which had 3 nozzles, but all 3 of the tunings still sounded far less natural than the AE, and all 3 nozzles still sounding a little bit too shouty. The gold red nozzle of the LM and the gold nozzle of the AE are probably the closest match in terms of tuning, and putting the two side by side, whilst I think it is still fair to say that from a technicalities perspective the LM has the edge, the AE become the more compelling option due to the added versatility thanks to the differences between the 2 nozzles. And that for me is definitely where the value is with the AE. If you already own the original Delci, I'm not sure it's a big enough upgrade for you to consider moving from that to the other. If you bought the Delci in the first place, it's probably because you favour that warmer, smoother sound, so having a brighter alternative isn't necessarily going to be a big deal for you. That said, there are some consumers like myself who like a little bit of both, depending on the music style and depending on mood. As I said, generally I favour the warmer, smoother sound of the original and of the silver tuning nozzle, but there are times when I want a little bit of energy, and the gold definitely gives you that. Whether it's enough to justify the additional price, only you can be the judge of that. But hopefully this has underlined the differences for you, and if you're in the market for an IEM for the first time and you've got a budget of around $100 and you're not really sure about what tuning it is that you prefer, then the versatility of the AE is definitely going to be a big plus point and a great starting point for you to begin your IEM journey. It makes them an even better bet for beginners than my previous pick, the DUNU TITAN S2, which comes with loads and loads of accessories, loads of tips. Again, all very useful things to start your IEM journey, but without the additional tuning nozzle, and if you don't know your way around using an EQ, those additional accessories aren't going to be much use if you don't like the S2's very particular sound signature. It sounds kind of like a halfway house between the Delci AE and the 500LM, but it falls a bit short in the sub-bass department in particular and has a slightly brighter presentation of vocals. Technically, it's a little way short of both the AE and the LM. I'm going to publish my rankings soon with IEMs under $100 and score them in each of the individual areas like I've done with TWS. If that's something that you want to see, hit me up in the comment section below. Do give the video a like if you found it useful, enjoyed it both or neither, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For now, it's ReganCipher signing off.